There, this is Terri Lomax from the Mocha Girls Pit Stop blog, the blog where women of color refuel on motivation and ignite their lives. Happy Sunday, happy Easter, happy Resurrection Day. I hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far. Today we're going to talk about self-worth and belonging. I want to share with you a quick story about my experience, and then I'm going to dive into this conversation that really inspired me. So I remember back when I was in college, I was hanging out with a few friends and they were talking about their parents and what their parents did for a living. And I remember being in that situation and I was super nervous. My heart rate was just going. I was sweating. I was just so nervous because at that point in my life, my mom and my biological father were locked up at the time. And so I was just praying to God, like, please do not let my friends ask me what my parents do for a living, because what am I going to say? I'm going to make up something, you know? And I don't think they asked me. I can't really remember, but I remember just the way that I felt. And I remember feeling so unworthy and feeling as though I didn't belong there, because I thought to myself, my mom and dad are both locked up. Like, I just feel so worthless. I feel like I don't belong here. I just don't feel good about myself based on where I come from, right? And thinking about my background, according to statistics, because of the things that I've been through, because of where I come from, because of the opportunities that were not afforded to me and those around me, I shouldn't be where I am today. And so sometimes when I go into certain settings, for example, I work at a company now where out of 30 employees, I'm the only person of color. And so in situations like that, when I first began this position, it was a little intimidating. I'm not even gonna lie. And I felt like there was um, this pressure to, represent, but then also there was a degree of, dang, do I belong here? Am I in the right space? Because I felt as though there was this such a big difference between the experiences of my colleagues and myself. And so based on the things that I had been through, I just felt like I was not qualified to be there. And if you can relate, I got you. I mean, I feel you. We've a lot of us have been through that, where we've been in situations where it's like, I don't feel like I belong. And other people may not even treat you differently, but it's just the way that you feel about yourself. So I want to tell you, I want to share with you something that really inspired me, and this is from Hove, Jay-Z. Jay-Z had an interview with Howard Stern, and it's a long interview, but about 31 minutes into the interview, I'm just going to kind of read you the transcript because it just blew me away and gave me a new perspective on my experience and my life. And I literally refer to this interview whenever I'm in a situation where I feel as though I don't belong or I don't feel worthy. So this is how it went, right? So Howard Stern is there. He says to Jay-Z, when you go into those situations and you're mixing it up with these wealthy people, do you find that sometimes you don't know what to do? You don't know the etiquette. You haven't been raised in that environment. And basically, just to kind of set the framework. So Howard Stern is talking to Jay-Z about him, Jay-Z, being in these meetings with these millionaires and billionaires and talking business and just being in that environment, right? So he says that to Jay-Z. And Jay-Z, as cool as he is, he's like, nah, because I'm myself in any room I'm in. I'm like, dang, Jay, that's dope. It's so simple, but it is profound. Like, that's dope. So Howard Stern says, you never embarrassed yourself? And Jay-Z says, of course not. He's so confident, right? He says, of course not. So Howard Stern says, you never walked in and said, everybody thinks I'm ignorant here. I'm stupid. And so Jay-Z says, this is the kicker right here. He says, I don't feel ignorant. I feel like I came in a situation or a time when I wasn't afforded certain opportunities. And if afforded certain opportunities, I could be Oprah. I could be Bill Gates. I could be Warren Buffett. What? That was so powerful to me, because I thought about that in my life. And think about this for yourself as well. If I was raised in an environment where I had resources, I had access to technology, I had access to opportunities, I would be like, I'd be somewhere crazy right now. Like, I can only imagine, because I would have been set up and groomed to be successful. And in the reality of the situation, I had a lot of obstacles, I had adversity, I had things that distracted me from, reaching beyond sooner. But I still made it, and I'm still going to, make it to where I want to be. It's just going to take a little longer because of the obstacles. But I thought that was so deep, right? So this is the last thing. Robin Quiver says, so when you walk into a boardroom with a bunch of guys in suits who all went to college, you're fine? Yeah, I'm fine. So Jay-Z says, I mean, yeah, because they read a bunch of words, I lived a bunch of life. It kind of evens us out, whether they know it or not. Come on, y'all. Come on, somebody. Y'all better stop playing. So this spoke to me because I'm thinking, wow, at the end of the day, like, what have I been through? I've been through, overcoming depression, overcoming low self-esteem, overcoming the odds, beating statistics. I mean, think about your life. What have you been through? What have you overcome? And think about the next time you go into a situation where you don't feel qualified, where you don't feel worthy, where you don't feel as though you belong, and think about your experience. Your experience qualifies you to be where you are. Those things, the mistakes you've made, the obstacles that you've overcome, despite all of that, you are still here today. You're still standing. There's still an opportunity for you to succeed. There's still hope, and because you're still here, you are qualified. Like, you belong here. And this is something that I tell myself when I'm in those situations where I'm like, oh, sometimes I see myself as this little Philly girl, this little girl, this girl from Philly. But at the end of the day, we have those experiences that make us more marketable, because at the end of the day, we know how to survive. You know what I mean? And so he said they read a bunch of books, but I lived a lot of life. I had a lot of experiences. And so just remember that the next time you go into a situation and you don't feel qualified, you don't feel worthy, think about the experiences that you've had and what you've been through, what you've overcome. And just remember, that qualifies you to be where you are today. You are exactly where you need to be, and you will reach the goals that you aspire to achieve because you have the experience. You know how to survive. And at the end of the day, worthiness is not defined by where you come from. Worthiness is not defined by the mistakes you've made, who your family is, what your background is, what your pedigree degree is. Worthiness is defined by the standards that you've set for success and what that means to you, and the values that you set. So it's all up to you. You define that. So with that in mind, I hope you have a phenomenal week. And remember, if this video inspired you at all, if you got a little nugget of wisdom or inspiration, please feel free to share this with your friends. You can forward this email to your friends, forward the video to your friends, and have a phenomenal week. And remember that Mocha Girls Pit Stop is the place where women of color refuel their motivation and ignite their lives. So join our community of supportive women, and you will be blessed. Have a great day.